Let's hear right now from the head of the Republican Party, the Republican National Committee Chairman Reince Priebus is joining us from GOP headquarters to talk about that and more. Reince, thanks very much for coming in. I want to play a little clip of this exchange I had with the president yesterday. Listen to this. You keep saying that there are some in Congress, and you don't say who, some in Congress who are more interested in political gain than really helping the country. Who do you mean by that?
Well, look, I think there is no doubt that the deal that I put forward to Speaker Boehner, which a lot of people in my party attacked me for because they thought that we were going too far, we were being too generous in terms of trying to compromise. The fact that they couldn't accept a deal in which you had significantly more cuts than revenue that would have done substantially more to close our deficit than the deal that ultimately we arrived at. The fact that Speaker Boehner and folks in his caucus couldn't say yes to that tells me that they're more interested in the politics of it than they are in solving the problem.
All right, Reince, that's a pretty serious charge from the president, that the Republicans who rejected this deal are more interested in politics than in helping the country deal with the deficit, creating jobs, and I want you to respond.
Well, this is all coming from a person who hasn't followed through on a single promise he's made in regard to the debt and the deficit since he's been president. I don't think anyone knows what he's talking about. And the reason people don't know what he's talking about is that he hasn't, Wolf, put a single sentence on a piece of paper and delivered it to anyone saying, this is my plan. Instead, Wolf, what we get from this president is one speech after the next, one forensics contest after the next, a taxpayer-paid bus tour, and now a promise that, lo and behold, in September, after spending a couple weeks in Martha's Vineyard, we're going to now see a jobs plan coming from this president. You and I have been talking about this for 4 months. I've been chairman for 7 months. It is the same thing over and over again. A promise for a plan, a promise that things are going to be different, and now he's blaming everyone on the face of the earth except for the person who's in charge of the free world, which is Barack Obama. And I would say, in your interview, I did watch it yesterday, the president said that the buck stops with me. Well, he doesn't sound like the buck stops with him. He's blamed earthquakes, the Arab Spring, and I was waiting for him to blame locusts on the situation that we've had here in this country. We have an unengaged president,
he did say,
Wolf. That's the problem.
But he did say he and Boehner, the speaker, they were close to a deal, and they thought they had a deal, but some of the Tea Party activists, presumably, in the House of Representatives, forced the speaker, John Boehner, to back away from that. Is that true?
Well, I think with this president, it's always a game of woulda, coulda, shoulda. We always have these, all of us have a relative that comes over at Thanksgiving and they tell us stories about their plans for the future or a different career path or something else going on, and nothing ever gets followed through. If this president was serious, he would present a plan that you, I, and all the viewers could see and say, this is President Barack Obama's plan for getting America back on track. No, he has not delivered that, and we're waiting for him to deliver that. Unfortunately, people are out of work, and we've got an economy that's in the ditch because of this president.
Let me pick your brain a little bit on one of the Republican frontrunners, I think it's fair to say, right now, the governor of Texas, Rick Perry. He's really going after Ben Bernanke, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, a man appointed by President Bush to lead the Federal Reserve. Listen to what Rick Perry says about Ben Bernanke.
If this guy prints more money between now and the election, I don't know what y'all would do to him in Iowa, but we would treat him pretty ugly down in Texas. I mean, printing more money to play politics at this particular time in American history is almost treacherous, or treasonous, in my opinion.
All right, treason, that's a crime in the United States. You could get the death penalty for committing treason. You agree with Rick Perry on those words about Ben Bernanke?
Well, I think some people need to lighten up, Wolf. I think the point is that Rick Perry has a fundamental disagreement with the idea of printing more and more money to solve our economic problems. I think it's pretty clear. I think there's a lot of passion out there in America, and I think that we're going to see a rigorous debate among the Republican candidates about how to get our country back on track and what we need to do to save America from a president who just doesn't get it. So, you know, I think that this passion and this love for America is something that we embrace, and I think that there's going to be a lot of discussion over what types of things that we need to be doing differently. And you know what? I think it's a good thing for us to start debating the Fed.
Let me just press you, Reince, on this. Is it just passion when he says he would be treated ugly if he came to Texas, or that it's treasonous? Isn't that crossing a line? Shouldn't he be more careful in the kinds of words he uses involving the chairman of the Federal Reserve?
Listen, I'm not going to get in the middle of, critiquing, and debating within our own candidates, but I think it's pretty safe to say that I think people need to lighten up, and that it expresses a general view that someone and many people in this country have in the course and direction that the Fed is taking America. And I think that it's a good thing that you and I are now talking about it, and that many people around the country are starting to look at what's going on with the Fed, and they're starting to ask questions. So I think it's good for America.
You know, you say he's passionate about America, but a lot of people are going back to those controversial comments he made back in 2009, in April 2009, even hinting at the possibility of Texas seceding from the Union. I'll play the clip because in the course of this campaign, his Republican challengers, as well as the Democrats, they're going to go after him on this. Listen.
Texas is a unique place. When we came in the Union in 1845, one of the issues was that we would be able to leave if we decided to do that.
There's absolutely no reason to dissolve it. But if Washington continues to thumb their nose at the American people, who knows what may come out of that.
All right, Reince, is that even patriotic to raise the possibility of seceding from the Union?
Listen, I think he's been pretty clear. He was expressing his frustration with the direction of the country. And, I'm sure Mr. Perry is going to talk about that as the campaign continues. I think you're right. He'll answer the question. I think he's starting to do that. But I think generally what you're seeing is someone who's very frustrated with the direction that the country was going, and he was flexing his muscle a little bit as the governor of Texas. So that's all that is.
You're really an astute political observer on the Republican Party. Quick question, quick answer. Are more candidates going to jump into the Republican race for the White House?
Boy, you know what, Wolf? Seriously, I mean, your guess is as good as mine. I think we've got a great field right now. I think we're starting a great debate in this country on how to save our country economically. I'm not sure. Certainly there's a lot of noise going on right now. And what I think is true, though, over the next couple of weeks, this thing is going to be pretty well set, I would imagine.
Reince Priebus is the chairman of the Republican National Committee. Reince, thanks very much for joining us.
Hey, it's an honor to be on. Thank you, Wolf.
Appreciate it.